Uh-oh. Hi, Lisa.
Hey,
Can you hear me okay?
yes,
Is my heater in the background loud?
I don't hear it at all.
Okay, great. So she needs me to send her the link, of course. So hold on one second. How is your day going?
It's going okay. How's yours?
It's been good. I definitely am looking forward to relaxing tonight.
Yes,
Are you relaxing after this?
yes.
Yeah, girl. Okay, so I just sent her the link. Right. And hey, Lisa. She's on mute. Okay, so I guess it automatically mutes you guys, which is great. I always struggle with that part. Jam Lizzle,
Hello.
welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, Lisa. Lisa Nichols, and then new Lisa. I haven't met you yet, but hello.
Hi.
Lisa Evans. I'm loving that top, Lisa. Evans, I guess I should say.
Yes, yes.
Loving it, loving it. All right. So thank you, ladies, for being early. I appreciate it. I just got on just in case people wanted to kind of get on early, but there's no rush. We're here to have a good time, relax, unwind from our busy schedules, our busy days. I was telling Lisa Nichols, I plan on relaxing after this. I don't know if you guys have other engagements happening after this or if you're in for the night. Do you, Lisa? I should say, look, Lisa Evans. I guess we'll have to use your last name.
Yeah, I plan on relaxing, getting my clothes ready for the fall, like taking my sweaters out and all that stuff. I love doing that.
Girl, that's the whole thing.
I
I
just love
started
it.
yesterday, huh?
I love doing it because I love organizing and all that stuff. It's so fun to me.
Girl, do it for me. I hate it. I dread it.
Really? I don't know why it's so fun. It's just relaxing. I don't know. I love doing that
I
stuff.
always put it off too. I'm like, oh no, I have to do that.
I'm thirsty. I'm like, oh, it's below 70 degrees. Let me get my sweaters out.
And
That's perfect.
literally, it was 90 the other day. And I'm not gonna
Mhm.
lie, I complained that whole day. I was mad at God. I'm just like, why is it 90 degrees in September? I went with my fall clothes. Why is it hot? And the next day it was over. The next day
Oh,
was over.
Yeah.
Crazy. So it's definitely time. I just pulled out this shirt from today, like, okay, what's in here? Because I started the process of swapping out my clothes, but I'm not near done. I just pulled out the summer stuff, and then I still have to bring up the fall stuff and take the summer stuff down. So, and it's funny because I know Jamia, she just left, but she said she doesn't have to do that, which I'm surprised because she has a lot of clothes. Do you have to do that, Lisa Nichols? Do you have to swap out your clothes?
I do somewhat. Fortunately, I have quite a bit of room in my closet now, so I don't have to rearrange everything like I used to.
Yeah.
But I do switch out like, all the stuff in my drawers and everything because I don't need the summer stuff there in the winter.
I
yeah.
know. And it's like I have extra closet. I don't know. It's just getting worse. It's becoming a worse problem.
Mhm.
I don't know what to do. I think I need to get a wardrobe, like one of those armoire things.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Something. Sophie's having a hard time getting in. I'm like, what did you guys do? Didn't you just register an Eventbrite?
I just went back to the email that you
Yeah.
had sent because at first I was looking at the wrong thing on the calendar invite, and then I went back to the email and I was like, oh, there's a Zoom link here.
Yeah. That's what
So it's on
I,
my calendar.
No, your calendar invite did not have it.
Oh, okay.
It was a Google Meet like option.
Hopi G. No, she can hear me.
I can hear you. Trying to get my, oh, there it is. My video is on now.
Love the braids. Those are cute.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jenna's connecting. Hey, Jenna. Welcome, welcome. So I don't know if anyone brought a beverage, but just so no one felt left out, I brought both. I was like, I don't know, we're in the mood for tonight, you know, but I'm ready. I'm ready. So I'm the host, so I got to kind of stay, you know, sharp. But, you know, if somebody wants to drink, I'll drink with them. All right, so I think the only one we are missing is Sophie. And I know she's on the struggle bus with trying to log in. So hopefully she can figure it out.
I did bring my special glass. It says Sister Friend.
Oh, look at that.
That's
You are
amazing.
You know what? You're inspiring me. Hope I'm like, oh, maybe we need some girl talk apparel. Stay tuned.
Oh,
Stay
Sounds good.
tuned. All right, well, we will get started. I know everybody's time is precious. You guys know I like to run a tight shift, but we are here to have fun tonight. So let's unwind. For those who are joining in just now or going to be watching this on the recording, my name is Nicole D. Miller, author of Stories for the Urban Soul, a compilation of short stories, novellas, and poetry depicting Black characters dealing with relatable life issues infused with spirituality, encouragement, and hope. You can learn more at NicoleDMiller.com. So you are now tuning into our Girl Talk, our beloved Girl Talk, which once a quarter, we are gathering with a panel of dynamic women who are all leaders, powerhouses, high-powered influencers in all of their spheres and are doing their thing. And so we're just kind of picking their brain on these various topics that are relatable to all women. We are creating a space of women to support each other who are like-minded regarding various life experiences, regardless of race, faith, beliefs. We're just focusing on being bonded via the commonality of womanhood. So this is a safe space for every person who is in agreement that they're a woman and about supporting other women. So this particular topic we're diving into today is, are good friends hard to find? Dun, 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 dun. And all of you I consider to be my friends. So this is a really cool opportunity for me to kind of see what you guys say in response to some of these questions. I know a lot of people's stories on here, but also just allowing you guys to feed off each other. I know we've been kind of sticking to this format of me doing the question and then everyone kind of chiming in via their order. So we'll kind of stick with that because it kind of makes everything succinct and not chaotic or whatever. But of course, you know, if you have something extra to add, please do. We want this to be dialogue. Like we said, we're creating a community. So I sent you guys over a few questions that we're going to kind of piggyback off of, and then whatever else I'm inspired to ask. And so I think we're going to start from my left. So we're going to go Lisa Nichols, Jamia, Esperanza, Jenna, and then Lisa Evans. So remember your number or your order, I should say, because I don't always. And then, of course, I'll chime in. So the very first question I want to start with is, what is your experience with friendship dating back to like your earliest memory of having a friend or having a best friend? And how did that impact, influence, or shape future friendships? So if you can kind of think back on what was your childhood friendship experience, who was your first best friend, how did that experience kind of shape future friendships? So starting with Lisa Nichols.
All right. So when I think back, one thing that I had mentioned when you and I went live is that I had actually a second cousin who lived down the street from me, down the block. And so she was one of my first really close friends, because we went back and forth all the time. And that was, I feel like, one of my core relationships when I was really young. And I guess the way that influenced future friendships was just like the way that we both kind of accepted each other as we were. We weren't like exactly the same. And, we didn't have all the same interests or whatever, which a lot of other friends that I had at that time, when you're like 5, 6, 7, you have friends based around like, oh, we all like, I don't know, the same color or something. But I feel like with her, because she was a cousin and everything, we kind of just, it was like, oh yeah, of course we're going to be friends. And then it was really cool because we didn't have to have all the same interests, but we still like got along really well and had a great time together. So that was one of my first
And I
memories.
love that because you were cousins, so you kind of naturally have this loyalty and bond that's kind of connecting you.
Yeah.
All
cool.
right. Nia.
Well, hey everybody. And I guess that's hey everybody, because I already spoke to the panelists, so that was for you, audience. But for me, my first friendship experiences, or one of my earliest, I would say, was in the kindergarten. So I definitely have similarities with Lisa in terms of like cousins that are friends, because you're so close and because you live in close proximity with one another. So that definitely has been a thing throughout my life. But in terms of like a friend that I made outside of the family, that was kindergarten. So I still know her first and last name. And in particular, there was I don't know what I want to call it, like an incident that happened, like where I learned what the word embarrassed meant. So I had like my first embarrassing moment that I can remember, like this public moment as a kindergartner. And I remember, I'll spare y'all the details, but just to set the scene a little bit, I can remember we were playing jump rope at recess. And when this event happened, all the other little girls ran like away from me, and she stayed right with me, and then all we did was we walked around the playground, and I just remember her telling me, it's gonna be okay. And I like, just that still touches my heart to this day, like thinking about that, like that example of someone showing up for you and being present with you when it feels like everybody else has kind of turned and laughed or whatever, so that's my first memory of like, this is my friend. So
I love that because it's like your first experience was a demonstration of a loyal friend and someone who has your back when other people don't.
yeah.
That's beautiful.
Mhm.
Esperanza.
Oh, I'm thinking for me, and I just realized this in this moment, my first two like significant friendships, like the earliest memories that I have, actually kind of would be summarized with loss. I had a little boy who was a family friend, or their parents, I guess, were, and then by association, he would hang out at my house and stuff like that, and we were friends. And I just remember playing with them and talking and laughing together. But he also died really young. So we were like 4 or 5, and he died some negligence on some parents' part, to put it, I guess, politely. And yeah, I was like 5 or 6. So I just remember not really knowing what death was, and my parents having that conversation with me. And then similarly, another little girl who was in my kindergarten class, again, just lots of running around, giggling, doing little girl things. and getting to spend the night at her house, which was really cool and stuff like that. And maybe a year or so later, she moved away. So that was like my first like little heartbreak, like, oh, my best friend's moving. So, but both two really great friends and just lots of fun and playing and good times.
So you bring up a very valid, real experience, right? Which is loss of friendship, and it impacted you at such a young age. How did you recover from that? What were some things you feel like impacted you in future friendships? How did you heal?
Yeah, I guess in hindsight, I I I didn't know that this was what I was doing, but I guess I was praying a lot at that age. And like my guy friend who passed away, I remember like talking to him and praying for him, even though he was gone. And that just brought me like comfort. And I do remember being able to like talk about it with my mom, and I don't remember specific things that she would tell me, but just like comforting me, like he's in a better place, those type of things, which I found comfort in. I don't think I really got over my other friend losing, because I think I had this hope that she would like move back or something, which never happened, or that later in life I would find her. But we were so young, and this is pre-internet, so literally she could have been anywhere. So I do remember it took a little while for me to find like another friend that I was like as close with.
So definitely, struggled with some trust issues, which is understandable, but it sounds like it pushed you closer to your faith. And that's so admirable, even being so young, that was
Mhm.
your response. So
Yeah.
amazing.
Mhm.
All right, Jenna, you're next.
Yeah. I love this question because immediately what popped up for me was like all the like beautiful friendships I've had from very young to over the years. It's like a reel playing in my head. And yeah, what popped up for me was like, I remember like probably, I don't know, kindergarten, I think, as far as I can go back. And remembering, I can't remember who said it, but like I remember her name and like who was my friend then. And just having an experience where I was always over at her house and she was always over at mine. It was much like a sister type relationship. And then I realized that like there's like throughout my life, I've always had like a sister type relationship, and I don't have sisters. I have two brothers. So I think it was really interesting kind of how these friendships had these like deep bonds to the fact where it was a sister. And I think how it shapes future friendships from that perspective is like there's always kind of one or a few like friends in my life, girls that were friends in my life, versus like many networks and many friendships. It was just a few really like deeply connected people around me that I viewed as sisters. So I think that that's something that was really beautiful, and I've got to like journal on this because it's all just coming up now that we're talking about this. So yeah, it's really interesting.
And you definitely you touched on something that I want to talk about, is that sisterhood. So that's beautiful. You can pin it all the way back to your early childhood.
Oh yeah, definitely. And never like really having that realization until now, where it's like I have friends, but then there were like those sisters that were in my life. And so I still remember their names, right? Like I don't know where they're at now, but how deep those roots can go,
Yeah, we definitely gonna touch on that in the next question. So put a pin in that.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing, Jenna. Lisa Evans.
Yes, so I'm kind of similar to Lisa Nichols as well. My cousins were my first friends. I was trying to remember like kindergarten, first grade, second grade, all the way up until middle school. A little bit of like fourth and fifth grade, but I don't remember any of my friends that I had before maybe maybe fourth grade. Because my family, my cousins, I had a younger sister who was only 10 months younger than me. I have a younger sister, she's still alive. I have a sister who's 10 months younger than me. I had about three about 3 close cousins on my dad's side, and then about 2 to 3 or 4 cousins on my mom's side, that we always hung out with. So it's a lot of us. So I never really had friends outside of school, definitely not outside of school before I got older. And kind of would hang out more outside of school with people. But before then, it was just my cousins and family for a long time. So that really taught me about loyalty, and because our family is like ride or die, like that's your family, you know, that's just who you go with first. And that really taught me about loyalty. And so as I got older, I began to look for those characteristics in my friendships, but I didn't really realize until a really adulthood that not everyone views friendship the way that my family did, or, you know, how other people view friendship. We all just view friendship differently. So I had to go through the rough patches, many rough patches of friendship to get to a place where I am now, where I'm very confident in my friendships and we all have the same values. And I've grown and learned and matured in friendship as well. We'll talk about that. But yeah, my family members were really my cousins were really my first friends for a long time.
I love that. You definitely touched on something that I was struggling with when trying to answer this question myself. I couldn't remember anything before middle school. Like you guys are like 5. I'm like, okay, I can't remember anything from, but I do remember because I'm from Toledo, which is like 2 hours from Cleveland. And we moved to Cleveland when I was 6. So I think so many of my memories are here, but it's like, well, I do have memories from Toledo. And there was a family of sisters right next door to me. I was in an apartment complex with my mom, and I like lived over there. Like our moms were super close. They would watch me when she needed them to, and they were really close family of sisters. So that's probably my earliest childhood memory of having close best friends. And then it's interesting because similar to Hope, and that is devastating, thank God, but similar to Hope, I did experience friendship loss pretty young. And I think my brain always goes back to that because it was more of a traumatic experience. But it's like, oh, but I do have like a positive one that was even earlier on. And so what I'll say about the friendship loss experience was it definitely taught me that I can't be as easily trusting. But as I matured, I was able to look back on the situation and see like, oh, well, that person didn't necessarily reject me or abandon me. They had their own stuff going on. And so to not take it personal. And then, of course, having other relationships that have helped me heal over the years, some of you on this panel today. So that's been very helpful. So it's really cool that we all have very diverse stories. Some of us found friends and family. That shows that people can be blood related and still be really close friends. Some of us found it outside of that, and those people became like family. And so that will kick us off on the next question. And what I did forget was to have you guys introduce yourselves. So on this next round of questions, if you can just say your name. Most of you have businesses, how people can support you, in addition to answering this question. So the next question is there a difference between sisterhood and friends? And if so, like, what are those differences to you? And so we're going to reverse the order. We'll start with Lisa Evans, Jenna Lear, Esperanza, Jamia, and then Lisa Nichols.
Okay, sure. My name is Lisa Evans. I am I work full-time at Cleveland State doing marketing, and I'm also an entrepreneur. I have a blog, Faith and Lifestyle, and I also have a faith-based candle company. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Walking with Lisa. The question is there a difference between sisterhood and friendship? I personally, the way I like to look at friendship is in 3 different, I guess, I don't want to say levels, but groups, I guess. I look at friendship as you have your close friends, like your best friends, you have friends, and then you have associates. So that's kind of how I like to look at it. Sisterhood, I mean, I guess sisterhood and friendship can be the same thing. I really think it depends on how you view it. I don't really see a difference in friendship and sisterhood. I think at the place where I'm at right now, almost being 30, I'll be 30 next year, I've really kind of loosened the restraints that I had on friendship outside of categorizing where people should go. I used to be very super strict on friendships. Like, these 3 girls are my best friends and that's it. And then when we would fall out or we would stop being friends, I would go to another group of friends and say, these are my best friends. So that clearly was not healthy. So I've kind of just broadened my view and how I kind of look and treat people in regards to friendship. So I think they're the same thing. I think it just depends on who you are, which term you like more, what type of lifestyle you like, and the terms that you use. I think it really kind of defines if they're the same thing or not. I think they're the same thing. I think my close friends and my friends that I have and the people that I'm getting to knowing are like my sisters, because we mostly have the same values. We both mostly believe the same thing, kind of value each other the same way. So I think they're pretty much the same thing.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Jenna?
Yeah. Well, I'm Jenna. I'm, just to do the intro part, I'm a brand strategist. I help women entrepreneurs grow their brand. And how you can support me, just follow me on IG. I'd love to connect over there. So it's Blue Louis Studios, LOUI Studios with an S. And we have a fashion show coming up for women entrepreneurs by women entrepreneurs. So I'd love for everyone to come. It's going to be really fun. It's at Loft in Legacy Village. So that's how you can support too. Yeah, so sisterhood versus friendships. That scene in Shrek where he's like, ogres have layers. And so Donkey goes on to talk about, parfait. But I kind of look at it like that. I feel like there's like friendships, and then there's maybe like layers deeper that leads to sisterhood. That's kind of what came up for me. And I feel like those that are around me that are like in my sisterhood, or I consider sisters, like see me in my mess and still accept me. Kind of like the story that you shared, Jamia, where it's like I get where your gaps are, your triggers are. I know what makes you angry, like I know where you hide. I know, what you're going after, and I still accept you. And I see you as a human that brings value to my life, right? And vice versa. And I think for me, like I can only speak for myself. It's like, I don't like open myself. I'm not an open book. I know some people lead with that. It's a personality thing. I'm not. So if I show you like vulnerable pieces, or I show you my mess and you accept me, I'm like, okay, we're sisters now, right? Like there's like a bond that's built with that. So that's kind of what came up for me. I'll go on to say that like, for me in particular, relationships are hard because we moved a lot when I was little. So for those of you that talk about the friend that moved away, that was usually me. I think I moved about 6 or 7 times while my mom kind of went after a higher medical degree and kind of worked on bettering her life to better her family's life. And as a result, like relationships became harder and harder. I could make new friends in new places, but maintaining them as I became an adult, I became cognizant that it was actually something you have to work towards. So I think all friendships kind of take a certain level of priority and nurture. I personally am still working on that. So yeah.
Well, thank you for your authenticity. I'm sure many on this panel can relate. Esperanza?
Well, I'm Esperanza Gallon. I am a counselor, and I have my own private practice here in Blue Ash, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio. You can support me by following me on social media. My Facebook page is facebook.com/Hope is Here Counseling. And on Instagram and Twitter, I'm at Hope is Here LLC. So I'd love to connect with you all. In terms of sisterhood and versus friendship, I definitely see a difference. I had a couple of experiences in high school where I had like some friendship betrayals. And that was my first time, even though I had experienced friendship loss, those earlier situations were not of their own doing. So I didn't feel like, even though I was sad about it, I didn't feel like it was, I didn't take it personal. But in high school, my best friends at the time, a few of them just had some hurtful experiences with them that I just didn't even think was possible, because you're like my best friend. So what possibly could go wrong? So I later in life, with my closest best friends, I did have that distinction of like, wait, you people are different. You're special. I feel like I can trust you. You're safe people. And even if there's any friction or anything like that, it's not anything like, I don't feel like harm is being done to me, like in some of those other relationships. And so I definitely changed my language, probably like, college age, of referring to like my inner circle, those people as my sisters, because I'm like, family is for life, sisters are for life. Versus I've kind of felt like best friends can kind of come or go. And my own sister is 17 years older than me, so a huge gap. So we didn't really like grow up literally in the same generation or in the same household at the same time, all of those things. And so I was able to kind of have that experience of growing up with, literally growing up with other women, and laughing, crying, all of the sister things, at least what I saw sisters doing in the movies. So I definitely see a difference.
Thank you, Esperanza. Jamia.
All right. I am Jamia Lewis. I am the host of the newly launched Thanksgivers podcast. You can follow me on Instagram at the Thanksgivers podcast. And in order to support, please do listen wherever you listen to your podcast. So listen, rate, review, all of that. It would be a huge encouragement to receive that, because this journey is hard. It's hard, y'all. So that would be awesome, if you feel so inclined. So I really appreciate all of the previous comments made. Definitely a lot to think about. I was trying to jot down notes based off of what they were saying. I didn't capture everything, but I think so with Jenna saying that there were layers to this, yes, I agree with that. And also Esperanza's statement of yeah, there's a difference. And so as I was thinking about it, I feel like, my understanding of, or our first understanding, I would say, of sister is being, your sister is your sister. And that's that is a, even if you're at odds, even if, there's a disagreement, that is a bond that does not dissolve. Okay, that's your sister. And I think it's possible with friendships for there to be a dissolution. And I guess that's where I'm drawing that distinctive line. Now, the interesting thing is I definitely, I'm fortunate to say that, my sister is my friend, biological sister is my friend, cousin, sister, friends, there's that too. But also I've been blessed to have to friends that are sister friends. And so, and I think in that sense, it is a knowing decision, these are people, these are women that I choose to keep in my life. So this bond is not going to dissolve, even if we're at odds, because we're continually choosing each other, and choosing to forgive, and choosing to listen, and choosing to offer grace, choosing to support, choosing to show up for each other, which, hopefully those things are happening in a blood relationship anyway. But I think it's even more special when it does happen, when there is no blood connection, because it's you're literally choosing that. And for me, I have been really, really blessed in that regard, to have, and I don't remember who exactly said this, but just in terms of being like-minded, having the same values, and then people that see you in your mess over and over again, and that not being held against you, because it's a sister sees those things by default, and And then, but your sister friends, so friends who are sisters, they get invited into that space as well. So I think that there is a difference, but you can bring friends into that sisterhood. And that's what I've been able to be able to benefit from. And even while we were talking, like a couple of songs came to mind. It's like there's so many. Do you all remember CeCe Winans and Whitney Houston when they made "Count on Me"? Like count on me through thick and thin, a friendship that will never, So that one,
Waiting
there's
to
another.
Exhale soundtrack, wasn't it?
Huh?
Was that on the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack?
I don't know. It might have been. It might have been. I feel like it was that same time frame, like mid '90s, when I remember that song being really popular. But between that, there's like so many songs that come up, like that are bubbling up right now, like Dionne Warwick, Stevie Wonder. That's what friends are for. And then there's another one that you probably never heard of, but I'm just going to bring it up because I think it's such a beautiful song. And her name is Annie Ruth. So she's a local artist in Cincinnati. But she has a song about sister friends that really resonates with me that I really enjoy too.
Well, thank you for that playlist, Jamia. If you want, you can put them in the chat. People can look them up when they have time. Lisa.
Yes. So I am Lisa Nichols. I'm a career and leadership coach and consultant. And what I do is I help leaders own their brilliance and cultivate human-centered teams. And you can find me, you can interact with me, follow me, ask me questions, whatever, at Love Your Niche on Instagram. And I would love to see you there. But I love this question. I think that so many great things have been brought up. And so I'm not sure that I have a whole lot like new information to add. There were just so many great gems in what everyone was saying. I think for me, I feel similar to what some people have said, that like there is a distinction in my mind, because my sister friends, that's people who have, like, we've been through some stuff. Like Jamia was saying, like we have had struggles, we've had arguments, we all kinds of things, but through it all, like we were committed to the relationship, we were committed to each other, and there wasn't that threat of like, if something, if we have an argument, then that's it. And so most of my sister friends have been in my life for a while now. And so we've been through a lot of different seasons in life, a lot of different experiences, and we've supported each other. So I think like someone said about, yeah, like they know my mess. They're with me in it. They're not judging. They're not, they're not going to judge me for anything that I'm struggling with. They're there to support me through it. And so like just that loyalty and that commitment to each other, I think are some of the things that make them my sister friends. And so, yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Thank you for sharing. I agree. I resonate with the term sister as far as someone I'm super close with, who sees me in my mess, who I can let my hair down with, who doesn't judge me, who I've grown with. I've had the luxury of having people in my life do life with me for decades now. And I know that that's a gift. Now, I know Jamia kind of touched on this. You can have friends move into sisterhood. I've had that happen too, where we're spending so much time together, we're bonding, it's our season. And so we grow closer. And I've had a few of them be in my life kind of at a distance for years. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's our season. And we're just like this. So that's really fun too. It's like seeing someone with a new lens, or you guys are growing into these people that you're becoming and you match better. So that's been really dope. So I love that you guys all resonate with having that experience of sisterhood. I know some women don't. That's why I want to create Girl Talk. I want to give people an opportunity to form relationships, to know that there's community for women. And I know that you guys kind of touched on this, but with the next question, I want us to talk about like different traits and characteristics that we look for in women. What kind of things stand out to you in your friendships, like themes that you can see that you gravitate towards this type of person, or you choose these types of people to do life with? And how do you fight to maintain those relationships? And that's probably like the most meatiest question. So we'll kick it off with Esperanza, then Lisa Nichols, Lisa Evans, Jamia, and then Jenna.
Okay, so I mean, the characteristics, to kind of piggyback on what a few ladies said, definitely the support. I feel like in the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, these are women in my life that I can count on for, you know, anything. So that honesty of like loving me enough to like tell me about myself, even if I don't want to hear it, which is never fun, but always helpful. Being
Especially
able,
counselor. I love that you said that.
being able to pray with me, pray for me, those times when I've like been down for the count and couldn't pray at all for myself, and can just like, and couldn't even like pick up the phone, but I could send out like a SOS text and know like, you know, these women will sincerely actually stop what they're doing and pray for me. And like fun too, like I have just crazy, funny, goofy memories of just like fun times too. So a lot of joy. And even if I'm in like a season or a moment of life where I'm not having a good time or whatever, I know that with my sisters, like it will turn to joy. Like I might not be in a good space, but hanging out with these wonderful women, like I will laugh, I will have a good time, regardless of what we're doing. So those would be the characteristics. And then like the second part of the question, like how to maintain those relationships. I would definitely say like I had to learn in time, kind of seeing like what my part was that I was contributing to the friendships. Like I think about one of my high school friendships where there was a betrayal, and I didn't handle that well. I just kind of like ghosted that person, never talked to them. They kept reaching out to me and I was just like, nah, I'm done. Whereas later in life, well, just a few years later, but you know, you're so much earlier when you're out of high school, but a few years later, having another strain on a relationship, and being willing to have more forgiveness, realizing that, you know, I had like I said, a part to play in the friendship, and not just how I kind of had this mindset before of like, I'm just going to see what the other person does or what the experiences are, versus saying like, oh, I get to set boundaries, I get to ask for needs, I might be doing things that are not helpful. And I think as I grew spiritually, that also helped me to deal with the conflict instead of like just cutting my ties and moving on, to be able to say like, no, well, God has forgiveness for me, I should have forgiveness for other people, I don't always handle things right. And so and having it modeled to me by these sisters in my life of, you know, when I didn't handle things right, how they received me, how they forgive me, how they had love for me. And I'm like, well, I appreciate that, I should be able to do that too. So that just kind of helped me grow, and being able to take more of my friendships to the Lord when I was in conflict too, instead of just complaining about the state that they were, was helpful to me too.
Thank you for sharing.
So Yes, so many things at Esperanza that you brought up. Women who are there to pray with me, like I definitely resonate with that. Having to send an SOS text, and the type of text that you're like, if I sent this to other people, they will definitely think I'm crazy. But I know that this person is not going to think I'm crazy and they're just going to pray for me right now. So that's one huge thing. I think, of course, like loyalty and authenticity are really important to me. Those are things that I look for. And then even thinking of, like you said, about joy and everything, I'm thinking about the fact that my good friends also really enjoy like food, and like we like to talk about food, we like to make food, we like to go out for food, you know what I'm saying? So like food is important. And bonus points if you like to dance, because that doesn't happen as often now, but like in the house, like I don't even care. We can, yeah. So those are some of the other like lighter things, but I'm like, that's who my friends are. I have a lot of friends that are like really funny people and really excited about, about those things as well. So that is the, some of the things that I look for. And if I think like this is an interesting question for me, because as I'm thinking through like how do I maintain these relationships or like pour into them, because obviously any relationship takes time, it takes effort, like there's no one-sided relationship. And I think for me, I came from a place of actually having a really unhealthy expectation for myself, and always feeling like I had to maintain every relationship in my life. And sometimes even when like I would just, oh, well, you just can't let this relationship die, sort of like no matter what, you just have to. And so that sets yourself up for like a lot of really unhealthy, like you don't have boundaries because you always have to be there for them. And you set yourself up for, some type of like abuse too. Sometimes people can do anything to you and you're like, well, I just have to keep the relationship. So that was something that took me years to like even understand, and to realize that the pressure is not on me to maintain everything. Well, it does take, I mean, obviously I have to give also, but just not having that pressure, or like kind of seeing where things go and like letting them go where they're going to go. And if it's meant to be, then I feel like then you do both. At one season of life, I might not be reaching out as much, but the other person is reaching out to me. And then it switches. So where you kind of have that give and take. So that's where my mind went when you said like, what are you doing? I feel like it's changed for me a lot over the years. And so I'm still extremely loyal and committed to my friends, but it looks a little different. And I guess I don't take all that pressure on myself.
You brought up some really great points, Lisa, especially when you talked about overextending yourself, not having boundaries, because then we get into having healthy friendships. So that was good stuff. I'm like, we need another hour with these things, but All right. I think Lisa's
Yeah.
next. Okay.
Yeah, for me, getting married really changed my whole view about friendships, because I had always, before I got married 3 years ago, always had unhealthy relationships with people, with men, women. I just had no boundaries. It was just terrible. And that was due to a lot of trauma I had experienced when I was younger. And I think a lack of teaching women how to be friends. I feel like we don't, I feel like my mom would say, oh, that person's not your friend, but never, I don't know. It's a combination. I didn't really listen. Plus, I didn't really feel like they were really teaching us, okay, how to be a good friend, you should expect, all those things. So I have gone most of my life with unhealthy friendships, not even mostly on them, but a lot of it on me too, because I had no boundaries. So when I got married and my husband is a very no nonsense person. And so he really called out a lot of things in my life, a lot of relationship dynamics that just were not healthy. And so I also looked at his relationship dynamics, and he has friends, male and female friends, great friendships from like 20 years ago. And I was always like, how do you do that? Like, how do you maintain all those friends? Because I can't even maintain friends for longer than like 5 years. And I just started looking at his dynamics and started seeing, okay, so this is what seems like it's healthy. This is what's not healthy. And so I started making changes in my life. And so now I really look for women that are, one, emotionally healthy, and emotionally intelligent, because that's very, really important to me. Like being able to be self-aware, being able to apologize, being able to know when, something's not right, or being able to communicate, being able to understand me, because I'm a very emotional person, it's being able to talk through things, all those things. Emotional intelligence is very important to me in all of my relationships. Faith is very important, for the most part. Is very important when it comes to friendship and friendship dynamics. Also a low maintenance friend, kind of what I think Lisa was describing, like a low maintenance friend. I'm very low maintenance and I'm married, so we're not going to hang out every day. We're not going to hang out every weekend, we're not going to talk as much as maybe a single person or a more extroverted person would. I just don't do that. So, being able to be low maintenance with me, not have too many expectations out of each other, and just being able to grow and give grace with one another is very, very, very important with me, to me. So those are kind of the things that I look for. As far as maintaining relationships, I think that one thing I've been implementing in my life is trying to take my responsibility for my relationships as best as I can and do as best as I can. So like for checking in with someone, like for my close friends, I probably talk to them once a week. My friends who maybe are not as close, I probably try to check in with them, say, hey, how you doing, every 2 weeks. And then like associates that I know at a distance, I try to check in with them at least once a month just to see how they're doing and do what I can to maintain like my side of communication. I don't do that well every single month, but that's really how I try to maintain the relationship. And if someone, doesn't respond after a couple months, I don't take it hard at all, because it's like, it's life. And that doesn't mean we're not friends. We just don't talk as much, or that's just maybe the nature of our relationship. When we get together, we're talking for like 5 hours watching Grey's Anatomy, or drinking wine and catching up about the last 6 months of our lives. And then we don't talk for 3 months again. So I value those type of relationships as well as the ones that I talk to maybe once a week or once every other week. So that's really how I try to maintain relationships, try to be as supportive as I can, even if it's through Instagram. So if I, like your, put a heart eyes on your Instagram story, so only you see it, or may send you a message on Instagram, whatever, those little things I think people really appreciate, because I really appreciate it from people. Like, even if I haven't talked to you in a while, if you say, hey, oh my God, you're doing so good, I'm like, oh, wow, thank you. I haven't talked to you in a while, but I appreciate you even taking that time out of your day to respond to me like that. So I try to do like things like that to maintain a relationship, to maintain my relationships, no matter, how far apart we are. Yeah.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right. I don't know that I have all the questions that you asked clear in my head. Like, and if you could see the little index card that I have written down, like, it's like now everything is jumbled and I don't know what I was supposed to say.
The first question was, what are character traits that you look for in a friend?
Okay.
Then how do you work hard to maintain those friendships?
Okay. So characteristics that I look for, I think always, I don't remember a time where I didn't look for this, and maybe this stems from like my first experience, as a kindergartner, but the idea of trustworthiness, like that's a really big deal to me. I'm a very private person. And so I like from a very young age, I can just remember analyzing, like, can this person keep a confidence? Like, I didn't have that language to describe what it is, but if I was noticing, okay, this person is telling me about somebody else's business, or they told me what was going on with somebody else, I'm not telling them my business. And this is like elementary school. I was like analyzing this stuff. So yeah, so that's a big deal. That hasn't really gone away in terms of me assessing, is this a trustworthy person? You know, can I entrust my heart or the things that I hold dear to them and expect that it's not going to go anywhere else? And you know, so to varying degrees, just learning that lesson. I think one thing that I've learned over time is just that, like, the length of time that someone has been in my life doesn't guarantee them a spot in my life in the future. Or like, just because we were close at one time doesn't mean that we're going to continue to be close. You know, we keep growing, we keep learning, we change, and sometimes that means that people grow apart. And I think you can grow apart, and I'm saying this like just based off of my own experiences. You can grow apart and it still be like it's all love there, you know, no bad blood or anything like that. And then, like, no, you can grow apart and it's not fixable. And so I'm thinking of a specific instance for me, which still brings up a lot of pain. I won't say a lot of pain, but it's still hurtful even to think of it, because I don't think that had to be the outcome. But I had someone who I would have described as a friend in my life for years, had known them from a child on. And just through various experiences, just feeling like there wasn't any reciprocity in our relationship. And so feeling very unsupported. I felt very unsupported by them, and that, you know, could identify certain spaces where I felt like I saw that. And so as Esperanza mentioned earlier, not handling it the best way, like my first step was avoidance. So that's even another thing that I would look for. It's like, am I acting funny? Am I acting funny? Am I avoiding? Because then that's telling me something about what I'm feeling, even if I'm not ready to acknowledge it for myself. So noticing that I just stopped, you know, trying to reach out or trying to engage, until the point that I got really convicted. And I like saw them randomly when I was driving. And I'm like, Lord, you did that on purpose. Like, they didn't see me, but I saw them. It was like, oh, okay. Like, I know I need to say something. I can't just not say anything about this. And so when I did take the time to like reach out and say, hey, can we have this conversation? Like, this is why you haven't heard from me. This is what was bothering me. And then apologizing for my part and not communicating those things sooner. It was soon after that like we did not have any more communication, like despite me reaching out. So then that would be something else that I look for. Like, do we have the ability to resolve conflict together? Because like, not for anybody. I can't have a relationship or maintain a connection with anyone without the ability to be able to resolve conflict together. If we cannot do that, then we are not in alignment. We're not in alignment, because I'm trying to stay emotionally healthy, as Lisa Evans? As Lisa Evans talked about, like, I'm trying to stay emotionally healthy. And if you're not on that same path, God bless. And we gonna part ways, or we need to. We need to, just for my own peace of mind. So I think in terms of maintaining, look at how we approach resolving conflict, and then consider myself, am I acting funny? Am I avoiding? Because if I am, then that's something that I have responsibility, because it's in me to deal with. That's not on them to deal with, that's on me. And then even knowing that there are different expectations and different seasons of friendship as well. So between that, and then knowing that you have different friends for different things, knowing that that's okay too. Like, it can't be just you know, I don't know, you know, things, circumstances change, and just learning how to navigate with the changes, and not holding people to the same expectations of the past. So
Meaty stuff. Thank you for sharing. So I'll say similar traits. Definitely, I wanted to say kind-hearted because when I think of my friend circle, they're all very sweet people. I can look at my own childhood and see those traits in myself. And so I'm glad that I attract kind-hearted people. And I think that's kind of understated in our culture where we value aesthetics or things that are kind of superficial, but like having a heart that is pure, that wants the best for someone else, that is not mean-spirited. I really value that in my tribe. Also authenticity, because I just cannot do fake. I've been in those circles. People have their guards up. I get it. They have their own stuff. But I'm not going to be around for long if I feel like we're not being authentic and we're not going deep and really getting to know each other. So that's important. Another trait I realized that my friends have is they're all avid learners. So I just kind of roll with people who value knowledge, who value self-evolution, transformation. They don't want to stay stagnant. One of my close friends asked me a while ago how I had these 20-year plus friendships. And I thought about it and I said, we all value growth because you're not going to be the same person. Hopefully you were 20 years ago. You're going to keep changing and transforming, and you can grow together if you both have that mindset. And I think people who are married could probably say the same thing. I love that Jamia said, different friends for different reasons. I totally can look at my life and see I have that. And I think that that helps with removing codependency. And that's something that I've struggled with in the past with friendships, when you're putting such a weight on one or two people and going to them for everything, and it can be very draining and toxic. So I'm grateful to have kind of matured in that aspect of my life. So in order for me to maintain my friendships, similar to what you guys said, offering that grace, adjusting my expectations, this is something I had to learn a while ago, was like, if people are in different life seasons, like I'm not married, I don't have children, that sort of thing. It's like, I can't expect them to do what I do. Maybe I can offer time and space and availability in a way that they can't, but they are going to show up for me in the way that they can. As long as there's a reciprocating of showing up for me and support, I'm good. It may not look the same way it does for me, and vice versa, you know, especially in this season, you guys, this is a whole nother topic, but this entrepreneurship season, I'm just MIA sometimes. I just am. So, but I need grace, and I'm learning that to give grace as well. And I think the other side of that is that humility of self-awareness when you're messing up and you have to humble yourself and you have to address, I'm offended. That's so embarrassing to me. I hate having those conversations. They drive me nuts. But they have to happen for us to grow. And so all of that is a part of building those lifelong standing relationships. You know, you guys are being vulnerable with each other, and it's a safe space to do that. And so we are near the end. I was hoping to get to the last questions. I don't know if you guys have to get off or not. If you do, I totally get it. You can go, Jenna, no worries. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate your time.
No, I meant, can I speak? Because I didn't get to.
Oh, go. I thought you were trying to leave.
I'm gonna make sure I take up my space,
Did I
right?
cut you off? Were you supposed to go? Girl.
I was, but it's
Thank
okay.
you for
I love
speaking
hearing
up.
new stuff.
Thank
So you can finish now. And
No,
then-
that was it. I was going to switch to the next question, but go ahead.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So thank you for that. I wanted to chime in. I was writing down I'm at the last. So you guys said like all the good stuff, and I agree. And I was writing all this stuff down, and that's the one thing that was top of my list, Nicole, was like committed to growth. I like really look to be around people who want to grow and want to, you know, become better humans and, you know, learn about themselves just as much as they learn about other things. And I want to laugh through life. So I look for people who can laugh with me. Like, I just feel like life can be really hard sometimes. So I'm like, how can we just laugh at the things that are happening and find joy in it? And I think adventures, amongst a lot of the things that you guys said, adventures is one of like my life values. And so I look for those that I can hold a friendship with that also value that. And that could be anything from like learning new ways of being to travel and to gathering with strangers and, you know, connecting and meeting new people. And those are all like different types of adventures. So Those are traits that I look for, and the emotional intelligence piece and awareness piece is like key. So thanks for, saying that, Lisa. I think we can all kind of like echo that. And I also like, I think the giving and receiving that you guys talked about, I like totally feel that for how to maintain relationships and being able to receive. That's something that I've done a lot of work on. Like, how can I actually open myself up and feel worthy to receive from others and not have to feel like, no, it's okay, or like, pieces like that. It's like, no, yes, and I'm open to receiving just as much as I give. And I think like the last piece that really hit on it for me in terms of maintaining relationships is like, how do you continue to build trust? So as you can grow together, it's also like, how do you build trust together? Because trust shifts too, just as much as, values and ways of being shift as an individual. So yeah, I think that's about it for me. So thanks for letting me share that.
I'm glad you said the sense of humor, because I wanted to say that and I forgot it. And that is huge. I love to laugh, again, my authenticity. I can't laugh or smile if it's fake. I hate when people tell me to smile. I don't feel like smiling. But if it's genuine, like all day, I'm smiling, laughing all day. So. All right, so the last question is the topic of discussion tonight. Are good friends hard to find? So let's start with Jenna since I cut her off. So we'll go Jenna, Esperanza, Jamia, Lisa Nichols, Lisa Evans.
Yeah. My personal feedback on this is I think it's harder to make friends as an adult. I do think it's based on personality. For me, I'm more like an introvert. I can be shyer. And so I'm not always the first to be like, hey, what's your name? How are you? And stuff like that. But I also think it's like how well we know ourselves is then how we can reflect out who we're trying to attract in. Much like you would for like a romantic relationship. I think it works the same for friendship and relationships. So I don't think they're hard to find. I think it's what you find within yourself, like the trust or the love or the worth, the enoughness, all of those pieces that you have for yourself. And looking to make sure you're attracting those that you can have a friendship with and a relationship with that have the same value points. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Thanks, Jenna.
Yeah, thanks, Jenna. I do think it's hard to find friends as you're older. When we're younger, I feel like we have all of these friendships of convenience, like we're going to school or we're playing soccer or just these different activities where you kind of naturally have a built-in community to be able to get to know people, and you can expand that to getting to know them outside of that particular activity. But then as an adult, you could obviously still have a very full calendar of activities and things that you're doing, but it's not necessarily as natural or as built in. And as a counselor, the more that I work with adults over the years, it's made me have a real gratitude for my own support system, and just knowing, because I work with a lot of people, how many adults don't have a good support system. Like to have a conversation with someone like, all right, who's like your closest friend that can support you through this healing process that you're on. They might name, oh, my sister, or, this person from, childhood or whatever. I'm like, okay, great. Do you think they would help you with this particular counseling homework I'm giving you? Oh, no, like we don't talk about those kind of things. And so they're like close, but they're more of like on a superficial level. You might have a lot of contact with those people, but not necessarily like a depth to those relationships. That's been really eye-opening to me throughout my practice of like, oh, this is really hard to do. Not to mention, sometimes you get a certain age and that growth piece can be missing, of like just opening your heart and having the capacity to let new people in your life. Like there are lots of good people out there still that will be good friends, but sometimes you'd be like, nah. And I know I've been guilty of it, going out doing something and someone be really friendly and everything like that. And I'd be like, nah, I'm no new friends. Nope, I don't need, we can just leave this right here. And sometimes that's appropriate, but sometimes, it's just, again, not being open to like the good people that God would bring across my path. So I think we can sometimes limit ourselves as we get older too, and limit ourselves in hope if you're struggling with the support system and be like, oh, well, because I'm older, it's a done deal. The friends that I have now, that's it, now and forever. And that's just not life. So.
Thanks, Hope.
Right. So I had to laugh as Esperanza was talking, because I've heard her say that many times with all the seriousness in the world, like no new friends. And then there'll be this new person that she's telling me about. I'm like, okay. I mean, so it's just funny. She really means that. And so I want to acknowledge too what is being put in the chat in just a second. So I'll acknowledge it in the context of what I'm going to share. But on my live, individual live that I had with Nicole last week, I changed the wording of it to like, well, it's not. And for me, I would phrase the question this way, like, or the response to it. It's not necessarily that good friends are hard to find, but it is hard to cultivate. It is difficult to, because it requires being a good friend, like wanting a friend requires you to be a good friend. Like, it's like, if you want those things, you have to be willing to offer them. You have to be aware of how you're functioning is, maybe rubbing up against someone in the wrong way. And then being willing to see what might need to be done differently. And so, in that, let's see here. Okay. So I'm looking at the comments, and so, can I read this out loud? Can I read the comment out loud from Jocelyn? That's who I was.
If she's okay with that.
I believe she is. I'm quite sure she is. Go ahead. I'll wait. Yep, I knew it. Okay. All right. So, so in responding to that, Jocelyn is another one of my dear sister friends. And so what she says, I'll say it for those maybe who can't see it. I agree, it is challenging to maintain and find new friendships as an adult. I've moved a lot as an adult, and it can be exhausting to meet new people everywhere. And also her daughter, shout out to Kobe, is listening and loving the conversation.
Oh.
And so that's really awesome. And I don't believe Jocelyn would have an issue with me sharing this. And so, but we had to have our own conversation last year. So sometime last year. And one of the things that came from that is I remember Jocelyn's response in the conversation. Like, she thanked me. I know. See, it's like I already knew where you were at with this. So she thanked me for bringing it up, for valuing our relationship enough to bring up what was on my heart. And what meant so much to me was that she listened. It wasn't an offering of, it wasn't a rejection of what I was saying as truth, as hey, this is my experience, this is how I felt about it. And which meant the world. And that kind of goes back to this idea of, can we resolve conflict together? Do we value the relationship enough? Do we value the connection enough to be willing to hear hard things, be willing to say hard things, and to decide, am I gonna move differently or not? So I think that cultivation piece is everything. And then deciding to be, how is it that I can be a good friend what is it that I am offering to those that are around me, you know, not wanting a connection to be one-sided. And then areas where I feel like it has been, has that been something where you give the other person an opportunity to respond? Because it's not fair. It's not fair to hold people to an expectation that they don't know exists, you know? So it's a learning how to do that, learning how to grow and show up for ourselves in that way, I think as well. And I just want to bring this up. I don't know necessarily the tie-in, but it's coming to mind again. But you know, the scripture where Jesus is talking about like there's a friend stick, or is this in Proverbs? I don't know. I've been misquoting scripture lately. I don't know. Forgive it. Okay, it's in there though. It's in there somewhere. So a friend, yeah, this is Proverbs, like a faithful friend who can find, or there's something like, and then the second part of it is a friend, a brother is born for a day of adversity, but a faithful friend who can find, or something like that. I don't know. I probably shouldn't have
Gave us
just.
enough to research.
Thank you. Okay, all right. And that's what good friends do. Giving me grace since I shared that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think it's me. I would just say that I think maybe it's not so much that good friends are hard to find, but I do feel like what Esperanza was saying, like at different stages of life, you're more surrounded by this automatic like community of people because you're in school or you're whatever. And so it feels easier because you interact with the same people on a regular basis, I guess. And when you're an adult, your circle of people that you interact on a daily basis can be like a lot smaller. So I think that's why it feels harder, but I'm not sure, like someone, you know, people were saying, but there are still great people out there. And I think you never know. It's just that there's less control over, I don't know who I'm going to meet today. I don't know how I'm going to meet somebody. You know what I'm saying? So I think that for me, that's the challenge, is sometimes being in the right place, but then also having that openness, because I definitely resonate with that feeling like I don't have the energy right now. So then you can kind of be closed off because you're like, yeah, I'm probably not going to meet anyone. So
I love that you pointed that out, that in our day-to-day in the season, we have a smaller network that we're communicating with. I didn't even like recognize that pool is just automatically smaller as you get older.
yeah, totally different, but you never know. I've met like genuine friends on like LinkedIn and stuff.
Well,
Who
yeah,
wouldn't
my
have
first thought was social media, but I was gonna use that for my response. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, this is a good question. So I've experienced my a friendship breakup, hopefully the last one, with an intentional like, okay, we just need to not be friends anymore. 2 years ago. And after that, I was like, you know what? I need to figure out who I am and why do I keep going through these cycles, attracting the same type of people, ending in the same result, and me not leaving better than where I came into this friendship. So I kind of just chilled out on like trying to make new friends, because normally I would just be in a different environment and just fall into the same circle and just have, you know, I realized that I wasn't making friends. I was allowing people to choose me as their friend. And for me, I don't think it should be that way. I think you should choose who comes into your life, because when you let people choose you, you're at their whim, you know, and you're kind of like, okay, well, you chose me, so that must mean like I'm good enough, or like, let me just follow, you know, let me just go with it, instead of taking a step back and saying, okay, hold on, like, who are you? Are you good for my life? Just because you want me to be in yours does not mean it needs to be that way. So I was like, let me just take a step back. And I was like, God, like, am I really not going to have any friends for the rest of my life? Like, what is about to happen? And I just was like, you know what? I'm not going to try to force anything. I'm not going to try and force and now try to pick up, you know, other relationships to try to fill that void. I just like, I'm gonna just sit, just live my life. And whoever comes into my life, that's who it's just going to be. And I'm very, very, very glad I did that, because I realized who I was, who I wanted in my life, like who was in my life already that I needed to maybe reevaluate or like grow closer to, or, you know, do better with that relationship, instead of trying to meet new people. And I saw God like completely transform my view on relationships and my actual relationships, to the point where, like I said, I now choose who is in my life. And so now I can pick better people because I'm better. And that also helped me to be, because that during that period, I was getting to know myself, because I didn't know who I was really. And so I became more secure in myself, and I was more open to people, because when I was like insecure and not really knowing who I was, I just was not that trusting of people. I didn't want to open up. I didn't want to be extroverted in moments where I just wanted to be introverted. And so I didn't really open up to new people and make new friends. And so during that process, it really changed me and allowed me to be more open, to the point where like, that's how me and Nicole became friends, because I was at an event for my husband and I was late. So I came in late, first of all, as always. And so I sat on a couch by myself, which is my go-to. I'm always sitting by myself. Like I'm just here to support my husband. That's it. And so Nicole came over and started talking to me. And at first it was just like surface level. And normally I would stop talking. I would just end it, with, okay, yeah, good to see you here, or something like that, like nice meeting you or something. But I was like, you know what? Let me do something different. Let me continue to grow and actually, engage in conversation with this person that I don't know. And if I had not done that, I would have never met Nicole and I wouldn't be here. So when, like a lot of you said, allowing yourself to heal and like grow and open up in those moments really helps you to be able to attract better people around you, or attract the people that God wants you to have in your life, or attract people that could take you to the next level. Because all of the people that God has been bringing in my life is crazy. All of them have given me so much wisdom, whether it's in my marriage, in my business, in my, workplace. And that has never happened before. So sorry, it's getting a little dark, but yeah, I think that, so good friends. Oh yeah, that's the question. So yeah, I don't think good friends are hard to find. I think that once you when you're really secure in yourself, really like heal for the most part, where you are in a healthy place, you look at things in from a healthy viewpoint, then I think God allows people to come into your life that will be beneficial to your life, whether they're lifelong friends, seasonal friends, whatever. I think your outlook changes and you're able to have more healthy type of relationships. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Lisa. And I just want to let everybody who doesn't know, I am a natural introvert. Okay, so the fact that I just willy-nilly was talking to Lisa, a perfect stranger, at this event does not negate that. But I'm really good with one-on-ones and small groups, and that's kind of naturally how I flow. Lisa and I actually attended a different event where it was all these people and we were just like magnets. So that just goes to show, like, I just like going deep with people. I can do the big crowds and the masses, that takes energy, but what I thrive off of is that one-on-one connection in a small group. So what I'll say is basically what you guys said. I do think it can be harder for people to cultivate relationships. I've heard people sharing this, and I do think it is about being open-minded, where your mindset is, as a man thinks he is in his heart. And it's just like, you will attract what your belief system is. If you're shut down, if you're wounded, all of that. Now there's grace, because I've been shut down and wounded and still gotten friends. So I'm not saying there's a formula, but I do think that you putting yourselves in those environments to be open, to connect with people can, help you with establishing relationships. I do think it's harder to go deep. I know of people that have had the kicking it friends or the social friends or the acquaintances. But to get that like true sisterhood, the ride or die, we in this thing forever, that takes work. So I'm in agreement with Jamia's take on that as far as cultivating friendships. Lisa also hit on friendship breakups. I'm like, oh God, we need another Zoom on that, because that's a whole nother thing. It's like, friendships don't get enough clout in our culture and society as to how impactful they can be, especially for women. We kind of esteem dating relationships, but we're just as impacted with our friends, And so when we go through a friendship breakup, it's like, man, that's rough. And I know Jamia touched on this earlier as far as like having to let something go. And my thought was like, yeah, you have to respect people's choices, even when you don't agree. Like, hey, we could make it through this. But it's like, but I got to respect your choice. Like, you got free will, that's your choice, even if I'm not in agreement. So you guys touched on a lot. We had some comments on the Instagram. Somebody was saying like they really needed this today. I'm like, oh, people are being helped and touched. I haven't gotten a chance to look at all the chats, but I'm going to send them to you guys via email after this is over. I so appreciate your time. We went 20 minutes over. We might have to make this 1.5 hours next time so we don't feel as rushed. But I think there was a lot of food for thought. I think a lot of other people can resonate with all of the nuggets and jewels that you guys shared. Thank you for being a part of my friend circle. I'm definitely appreciative of the support, and anything else that you guys want to throw out there before we wrap up, feel free to chime in.
I'll just say it's never too late to make friends, to repair, broken friendships. Like you said, Nicole, if you have the other party that's willing. I've just seen it happen a lot in my own life, as well as the people that I work with. You can not have a great support system and be able to grow it in time. So I just want to encourage people.
Thank you for that hope.
Yeah, I was gonna say also time is very key in friendships. I think a lot of times we kind of like instantly want this 20-year friendship on day one, and it's like, no, you don't know that person, so you haven't gone through things together. I think of my one friend who made me her god mom to her daughter. Like, we met in 2018, and I didn't think at that time we would be like really close friends, but we just continue to grow, continue to just like get to know each other, genuinely get to know each other with no expectations. And now we're really close friends to this level. So I think like just letting relationships grow naturally, however they're going to grow over time, is really, really, really key. Being aware of like, the dynamics and what's going on, but also just letting it grow and flourish the way that it's supposed to will also help in developing and building relationships, and not expecting it to be tomorrow we're best friends and we do every single thing together.
And I love that you said that, because that goes back to the whole cultivating. And we know like cultivating takes time and patience. So anything else?
Just thank you for the opportunity to be here and to share. I have enjoyed talking with you all, ladies.
Yay. Well, I love that you guys felt this was beneficial. We will have another one in December, so stay tuned. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. Again, my name is Nicole D. Miller, author of Stories for the Urban Soul. To learn more, you can go to NicoleDMiller.com. All right, ladies, have a good night. We will talk soon. Bye-bye.